I took my lessons and notes from church and I turned them into a convenient pocket guide for those that are facing spiritual warfare. Inside, you'll see that I broke it down into about a dozen different aspects of how we can face the enemy through the power of Jesus Christ and the authority that he gives us to stand against wickedness. Pick up a copy today at Amazon. Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for the believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. Join us and we'll go face to face with what goes bump in the night. Hey there, believers. I got a great episode for you this week. Today, I am bringing on McKinley, and she's going to share her experiences that she had starting at a young age. And I just look forward to talking to this lady. Our email chain started back in like November, and she was kind of on the fence about sharing it publicly. But I assured her that this is a place where she can talk and not have to worry about judgment. And I thank the Lord that she's decided to share it with all of you today. If you have an experience that you would like to share, please holler at me. It's thebumppodcast@gmail.com. As of right now, I am wide open. Starting the month of May. So about the time you hear this, I don't know if I'll have another episode in queue to drop. Things have been really crazy here. So please shoot me an email. If we tried to reschedule before in the past and you hear this right now, send me an email and let's get you back on schedule. Okay. And please be in prayer for Tony's wife, Lindsay. He went ahead and announced what's going on with her. She's been diagnosed with breast cancer. So please keep her in your prayers. And also remember my wife. It is so weird, the parallels that's going on with the battles that Tony's facing and the battles that I have going on here. It's creepy. But my wife has she's been feeling down for a while, like physically just drained, fatigued, brain fog, big long list of things. Well, she went and got checked out, and we knew she's anemic. We know that she's got low blood, but it's really low. And they checked her thyroid out, and they found 2 nodules and some cysts on her thyroid. And we've been waiting for weeks to see if they're going to schedule a biopsy or what they're going to do. And I know things like that take a while. But in the meantime, she's really struggling. We don't know if it needs to be removed or what the procedure is going to be. But her name's Jess. So keep her in your prayers too. It's just been one hit after another. And I'm going to vent for just a second before I bring McKinley on. Hopefully her story will lighten this up a little bit. But, last summer, I appealed to you guys in a way. I let you know what was going on with our AC unit and all that, and it was thousands of dollars. Well, over what was supposed to be my relaxing spring break here, I've been dealing with a plumbing issue. It's a very, very long story, but to make it short, I'm looking at potentially an even bigger issue. And the county is not involved. The people that run the plant are not involved. If they can't clear my line, going down to the main line in the next, I don't know, if they can't do it with like a one-stop plumber visit, which I don't know how much that's going to be, but if they can't fix that, then I'm looking at thousands of dollars to have my line dug up going down to the main plant. Somewhere in between there's a foul up, and I don't have thousands of dollars. So say a prayer that whatever's attacking us financially and physically, um, just your prayers will help stand against that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. It's life, right? Things happen. But I'm tired, man. There's a whole lot of other stuff going on too that I'm not going to get into here. I don't want to share everything, but I know you guys care. Obviously, you guys care. You check on me all the time. You text me. You lift me up, and I ask that you just lift Tony's wife up in prayer, and lift my wife up in prayer, and pray for us to have a breakthrough, because this is a tough season, man. But thank the Lord. Thank the Lord I'm here, and I have a wife, and I have a home, and I'm grateful for these things. Also, when this airs, I'll be right in the middle of revival at my church. So I'm so looking forward to that. I want to see some people come to Christ. I want to see some people come back to Christ. And I just want to praise the Lord with people. All right. If you don't have a copy of my book yet, it's right here. It is called Army of God, Pocket Guide to Spiritual Warfare. I might put out an episode and explain how it went from this book of notes to a chapter book. All right. I think that would be fun. So I might do that. All right. I'll quit babbling. Like I said, if you have an experience you want to share, hit me on the email. I would even, if you sent me something on the bump phone, send it by email. Okay. I'm just having a hard time keeping up with stuff. I'm coming and going a lot, but I will check my emails. All right. I love you guys. Let's go ahead and bring McKinley onto the show. Hey, I might as well throw this out there too. If you feel led to contribute to the show, you can always go to buymeacoffee.com/thebumppodcast. And they have all kinds of different levels. You can enter whatever amount you want. I don't put anything behind a paywall. I don't ask for people to pay memberships. I feel led to just give everything I do for free. But if you feel led to, in return, offer a donation, contribution, support, whatever, I appreciate it. I just thank you guys for everybody that has bought the book. As of last night, I think it was 89 units sold. I have high hopes of getting it to 100 about the time this episode releases. That was my personal goal, was the first month, 100 books. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I'll go into more detail about that and how to pick up a copy. It's just on Amazon. But I'll go maybe give you a little overview of what the chapters are. Okay, that way it'll make it easier for you to decide if that's what you want to do. All right, let's go ahead and bring on McKinley.
So I'm going to start with getting saved. I think that's probably the best place to start.
Okay.
And then we'll just see where the rest of it goes. So I can't tell you how old I was. I was definitely younger than 12. I know that. I was young. Roughly fourth or fifth grade.
Okay.
And we had a substitute teacher one day in school. And I don't know what we were supposed to be doing. I can't tell you what we were supposed to be doing. But I don't even know how the topic came up, but she started talking about Jesus and the gospel, which I had heard about Jesus. I'd been to vacation Bible school. My mom was a Christian and she had a Bible, and like she would read us Bible verses at night sometimes, and we would pray before bed sometimes. And she was a single mom, so she was busy a lot.
Oh yeah.
She was busy a lot. So we didn't even go to church. Really, I didn't grow up going to church um consistently.
Right.
So maybe a few times a year, honestly. It was like Christmas, Easter, and maybe, during the summer
Yep.
I'd go. So anyway, she starts talking about Jesus and the gospel, and she's really laying it out. I mean, she's laying it all out for this whole classroom of kids.
Good.
And I felt the Holy Spirit come on me, and she's explaining how to be saved. And I sat there and I gave my life to Christ that day. Um, very, yeah, I'll never forget what that was like, what that felt. I just laid my head down on my desk and I just whispered it, and I just cried a little bit by
Yeah.
myself.
That's
Just try
beautiful.
to act normal, but I hope she didn't get fired for that.
No, I hope
um,
not too. And I
no
think
problem.
that's why it's important to bring it up in school,
Mhm.
to have that option, that invitation, because it might be the only opportunity a young person has,
Yeah,
to have that
yeah.
peace.
So you know, I don't know. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know her name. I
Yeah.
don't know a lot of the details. I just know exactly what happened. Um, I guess I'll give some backstory. I'll give some backstory on my childhood. So my mom and my dad divorced when I was 4,
Yeah.
and pretty much ever since then it was. I have a brother. I have a brother who's 2 years younger than me, and so we would flip flop and move around a lot.
Right.
Um, that school that I was talking about, I didn't even stay the whole school year there. Probably why I don't remember the substitute teacher's name. I don't know
Right.
my real teacher's name. Don't no idea. Um, well, then um we didn't stay in one place for very long. I think we finally, when I was 14, we finally moved somewhere and got settled. Um, and I've been in the area ever since then. I'm 23 now.
Wow.
So, um, eh, didn't I don't want to say I had it rough. It was just, single momming it out a lot.
Yeah.
She got remarried once with a man who was not very nice. Not very nice. He was nice at first, got married, not very nice after they got married. Um, and then stayed separate, stayed single for a while after that, got remarried, and she just got recently divorced again. So
Wow.
my dad's similar thing happened with him.
Yeah. It's
But
not easy out there.
no, it's not. It's not. So that was kind of the environment I grew up in. Unstable con- growing up conditions, not really making a lot of friends and keeping friends and moving houses and
Right.
having to constantly be on the go. So, well, in one of these houses, I want to say I was maybe 7 or 8. Um, that's a ballpark number. I could have been 9. I don't remember. I think I was in 3rd grade. Um, and I do want to apologize for me not remembering a whole lot. A lot of my childhood is hazy. I don't remember a whole lot of it. What I do remember, it seems very far, seems far away. I just don't remember a whole lot of when I was little. What I do remember, like I said, it's just like a dream, but
Yeah.
no, it's not a dream. Some like, which I'll touch dreams later because I have some very interesting ones I would like to bring up.
Absolutely.
Um, some of my dreams that I had even when I was like young, like 5, are clearer to me than some of my memories. So anyway, this house, was one of my mom's uncle's houses that he rented out to people. And I guess she may have got a family discount. I don't know, but we moved into it. And sorry, my baby's doing something like rude. So we moved in and things were good for a while. And then so the layout of the house was had the front door, and you would go in and it was pretty much just you could see everything from just going in that house almost. It had the living room, it had a dining room, then the kitchen, and on the right side you had the bedrooms. So you had 2 bedrooms split by a bathroom.
Okay.
The bathroom was not connected to the bedrooms, but you had a little hallway, and on the left there was a bedroom, on the right was a bedroom, and then the middle was a bathroom. And then the master was more towards the kitchen for whatever reason. It was like attached to the kitchen. And to the left you had a laundry area, and then attached to the laundry area you had a big room that took up the rest of the house, like on the lengthwise on the other side of the house. And that was what we called our playroom. And in the playroom there was a bathroom, like a toilet and a sink. That was it.
Yeah.
So that was where me and my brother played. And well, we did not like the playroom when it was nighttime. It would get really dark when the light switch for that room was like in the dead middle of the room.
Of course.
And so me and my brother would take turns, like turning the light off and running back as fast as we could, because it felt like something was chasing us. It was awful. And like there were some nights where I was like, no, I'll do it. And he'd be like, I'll do it. And it was just silly. It was, kids being silly. I guess I wasn't being silly. I was dead serious, but
right.
Talking about it now, it's funny. Well, apparently that same playroom was where my mom used to do her homework at night, because she was in school, she has a master's now, so I don't even know how long of my childhood she was in school for.
Right.
She was in school for a while, and so she would stay up late doing homework. And she later shared, not when I was that young, but later told me that during the evening, sometimes me and my brother would get up and we would come in there asking for water, like, Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, I can't sleep. Mom, I had a bad dream. Mom, I'm hungry, whatever. Well, she said she could hear us walking up, and she said there were several times where she heard somebody walk up and she would say, what is it, honey? Like, what do you need? Because we wouldn't say anything. She'd turn around, nobody's there. She said she could hear silverware rattling around in drawers. There were a couple times where she saw apparitions. Once where me and my brother were outside playing in the backyard. She said she was in the kitchen washing dishes, and she had a window above the sink, mm-hmm. and could look and see where we were playing, and she's washing dishes, and she'd turn around to, in the kitchen, put something on the counter and sees a flash of red, which was part of our school uniforms at the time. And she's like, I thought they were outside. And she looks up and we're both out there. And she says, okay. Then there was one night, well, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have a specific memory of my mom pulling me aside one day while we were leaving the house, and she pulls me up to her. She's like, Jacob, you go, my brother. She's like, you go get in the car. McKinley, you come here. And I was like, okay. It's like, what'd I do? And she's like, I am locking the door. And she took this house key and locked the front door, like the deadbolt. And she set it out, and she looked at me and she said, I want you to say it, that you saw me lock the door. I was like, I saw you lock the door. And she said, okay. And we got in the car and we drove around the block and came back home. And that door was not locked when we came back. And that would happen over and over and over. So that was just a play. That was just a test. That was her
Yeah.
testing it. That had happened several times before for her. And she thought she was going nuts because she's like, I thought I locked the door. So then she started saying it out loud to herself, and she would still come home to the door unlocked.
Hmm.
So it all came to a head one night. I remember me and my brother were in the playroom brushing our teeth in that bathroom. I don't know why we brushed our teeth in there because we had like a full bath attached to our bath. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think my mom had a bathroom attached to her master, so maybe she was using it. I have no idea. I don't know, or she maybe just made us keep her. I don't know. We were brushing our teeth in there,
Right.
and we're brushing them, and I hear my mom call out my brother's name, and it sounds like she's upset, like she's calling his name um in distress. And I was like, mom's calling for you. And we rinsed our toothbrushes real quick and ran to go see what was going on. And she's in his room looking for him, frantically looking behind the door. Like, we came around the corner or into the living room area, and we could see his doorway. And I said, Mom, he's right here. And I pointed at him, and the look on her face was like eyes super wide, mouth dropped open. And she just froze. And then she told us to go to her bedroom. So apparently she's told me that she was in the dining room, living room area, walking out of the kitchen, and she saw my brother run right past her. She said, I mean, his little bald head, his little like long, like big old t-shirt he's wearing to sleep, all,
Yeah.
like just looked completely like him. She said it was like he was right there, and he ran into his room.
Wow.
And that was what I heard. What we heard was her saying, Jacob, and like, Jacob, and like raising her voice. And because she had gone to his room and his door was cracked and it was pitch black in that room. And she had pushed that door open, turned the light on. He wasn't in there. He was with me. So that night, we didn't know what was going on.
Right.
She
Yeah.
she kept it so she kept it pretty swept under the rug for us because we were young. But she called a friend of hers who had a brother who was a preacher, a pastor. And she said, I need your brother to get over here tonight. This cannot wait. And she told him what had been happening. And he was like, yeah. Yeah. So he came up, his brother came over, him and his brother came over that night, and his brother blessed the whole house. And I remember my mom checking in on us in her room because she sent us to bed. She's like, y'all are going to sleep in my bed tonight. She's like, y'all aren't going to sleep in y'all's rooms, in my bed tonight. So that was, yeah.
That's
I had I had no idea.
well, one, you got a pretty tough mom. If she,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, she sees
she's
that she goes
definitely
into
tough.
she goes into save mode and goes in there and tries to check out the bedroom.
Give me
And
one.
I'm very grateful too that she had contact with a preacher that's willing to come check that kind of stuff out, because a lot of them
Yeah,
just
me
don't
too.
think so.
Me too. And she'd even told me when I was older, she's like, you can't just tell people stuff like that.
Right.
She's like, you have to be careful who you tell. And I was like, that makes sense, I guess. Give me 2 seconds. Give me
Okay.
2 seconds. So yeah, so that was an experience I learned about later,
Yeah.
but um I still I still vividly remember how that was as a kid living in a house like that and didn't know what was going on. Um, and I'm glad my mom didn't say anything because I don't think I would have understood,
Right.
but maybe some kind of explanation. Like, why is the door unlocked when I just watched you lock the door before we left the house? You know, like that kind of thing. And I never got an explanation for that. I didn't ask, but I never really got an explanation for it.
Yeah.
And that very last night, what happened and what she saw, she kept that for me for a while because I asked her, I was like, what did you see that was so scary? And
Right.
like as a mom, that kind of doppelganger experience, that's scary.
That
Like
is.
that's scary. Um, who? So I get it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's scary. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm not really sure where to go from here. Oh, let's see.
Well, I can refer to the email that you sent.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
You said I think it was a few years later, maybe around the age of 12, that, and you don't have to share this what the experience was, but you said you went through something pretty traumatic.
Yes. Well, was not at 12. I'm sorry if I put that in the email.
Maybe
Was
I
not.
misread. It's okay.
No. That you're fine. So I may not have. I think when I read it over, I didn't specify when exactly that
Oh,
happened.
okay.
So it's not on you. Um, yes, that was so back in 2020. Um, I am currently married. That this is my second marriage.
Okay.
My first marriage uh was me acting outside. I'll say it was me acting outside of God's will.
Yep.
I gave my life to Christ early, right? So at teenage years happened, and I ended up getting pregnant at 16 and married the baby daddy, right?
Right.
And he had a hard life. He wasn't a bad person as a teenager. I don't want to say he made bad decisions, a lot
Right.
of bad decisions, but I don't want to say he was a bad person. Um, I I say was because he had passed away in 2020.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Um, so he well, so he had taken his own life, and there were some very strange things that happened that night. And the only reason I'm going to bring it up is because it was definitely spiritual, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I'll keep it vague, I guess. Um, I don't I haven't said anything about it to I don't think I've ever like told his parents everything. Or his sister. Which who we still keep in contact with because of my daughter, our
Right.
daughter. So um a week that the same week that he passed, their parent he told me about some he worked in construction like dirt work,
Hmm.
but he worked outside.
Right.
And he told me about some crow that had landed on a piece of equipment that he was running. He was working on it. It was running equipment, and this crow landed on it. He said it looked at him and squawked at him. And I was like, and it really bothered him. Um, I could tell it was really bothering him. And the way he said it was really bothering me. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, it squawked at me. And I said, your equipment was like on? He said, yes. And I said, okay. And so it doesn't sound like very bird behavior.
Not at all. Yeah. And it must have felt like more than just that.
Yeah. And I said, okay. And like, I'm like Googling it, trying to find something that's not bad. And it's like, oh man, that's like, okay. I'm just gonna ignore that. I was like, it could mean nothing. I said it could mean nothing. Um, then that Friday night came the Friday night rolled around, and he was like, hey, I'm gonna go to this bonfire with some friends. I'm gonna be back. and he grabbed a little 6-pack and he was like, I'll be back. And I was like, don't be out too late, please. He was in a good mood for once.
Right.
And I was like, don't be out too late, and just please don't have more than whatever you're taking, because he had already gotten in trouble with the law, which I'm not going to get into, but that was a whole other traumatic problem, which I will not talk about, but reference later.
Okay.
So he left, and he would text me every now and then. He seemed fine up until a point where he called me and he was being erratic and weird, saying that his leg was broken, that it got ran over. And I was like, what are you talking about? What is going on? He did not sound like himself over the phone. Even when he had too much to drink, it still did not sound like that.
Right.
And then on his way home, he had wrecked his truck. He's on his way home. He's calling me and he's like screaming. He's yelling. He's just saying nonsense. I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't know. I can't even tell you what he was saying, because I don't know what he was saying. He was very angry and upset and distressed. And I was like, I don't know, just get here, be careful. I don't understand.
Yeah.
It sounded like I didn't understand what's going on. I still don't understand what happened. I have no
Right.
idea. Nobody knows, actually, which I'll reference in a second. But he ended up wrecking his truck, not bad, just on the side of the road, and his tire came off
Yeah.
somehow. And had to go pick him up, and he was being very aggressive. And I was like, he wasn't a good person at that point anyway.
Right.
I know I said that when he was a teenager, he wasn't, but it grew into something else as he got older. And I was like, this is different. Something is wrong. Ended up just maybe an hour later, he, so I I'd talked to some friends who were at that bonfire party, and they said he was fine, and that actually they only saw him drink 3 beers, because when he grabbed his 6-pack out the truck, 3 of them fell out of the 6-pack
Yeah.
and shattered. He only had 3. And they said they didn't see him share with anybody, everybody there was like stingy with their stuff.
Right.
They wouldn't share. And they did say that he went to his truck for about 20 minutes. And they said he was talking to somebody. That he said he was talking to somebody. And they don't know who he was talking to. I was like, was there anybody in the truck? They said no. I was like, okay, y'all did you call somebody? They're like, I don't know. So, okay. When he got out of the truck, he seemed to be totally different. And he's telling people he's seeing demons. And he doesn't understand, like, he's acting weird and strange. And that didn't make sense. I was like, whoa, what do you mean? Now, a month or so before this, he had told me that he had, or no, I think it was maybe a couple weeks before this, he had told me that he had sold his soul to the devil, which I didn't understand. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What do you
And
mean?
why? Yeah.
And why? Yeah, I said, why did you do that? And after I had asked him what he meant, he just kept repeating it. I was like, okay, well, he sure believes he does. He done did. And I don't think he was lying. He lied to me a lot, but he didn't seem to be lying to me about that. He pulled up maps and showed me some crossroad somewhere. And I was like, I feel like you're just making it up. I don't understand. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was or not, but in lieu of everything after, I was like, I don't know.
Right.
He he didn't really give me a good reason why. He was just like, I did. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I don't
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
So, but a positive in that is that evening and that night, I'm really thankful for the Holy Spirit guiding me, which I did not realize that was what was happening at the time. Looking back, I was like, oh, well, that's how I knew how to do everything that I did that evening. Or like these thoughts just would pop in and say, nope, do this, and instructions. And I didn't realize that was what that was. Because as you can probably assume, we didn't go to church. We weren't a Bible reading family. We were not in covenant with Christ.
Right.
And so something else slipped in, right? And yeah, I reap the rewards of that, right? I mean, just awful. Well, moments after his parents got there and there's paramedics there, the I don't really know why this triggered something. I have no idea, but I could overhear the paramedic saying he's still breathing. And at that moment, I felt something literally, it felt like something came off of me. I don't know. And it felt like the Holy Spirit just like came back on me.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. And
Yeah.
I still don't fully understand it. I don't know. I don't know if some scales were removed from my eyes. I have no
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, but I'll never forget that.
Amen.
And I, ever since, his parents ended up getting divorced, his sister did not do well for a while. I was really the only one who was doing okay out of everybody. Because it was almost like something came off of me and maybe it went to somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe, I don't know. I say that something oppressive left and went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. But it was like God was finally like, look at me. Because my head, I instantly looked up. I could it was like I could finally breathe. I don't know. So I think that's really interesting.
It is. It is. And if he was on that path at the time and you
Mhm,
had already received Christ, you
mhm,
guys were, the word or the phrase unequally yoked is what that reminds me of. You know what I mean? Where you
mhm,
had the spirit of Christ and he had obviously succumbed to demonic things.
mhm,
Um, it's kind of like a freedom in the middle of all that. That it sounds like
mhm,
you received that. Like,
mhm. Yeah. And I'm not saying it was easy afterward. Definitely
no,
not.
no,
After that, it was really, there was a lot happened after that.
I bet.
With his parents divorcing and everything. I mean, I lived with them for a little while until I finally moved back in with my parents. I think there was something, there was something else entirely in their own house.
Yeah.
I for sure, 100%. Um, there there were some issues that happened months after when I started dating my now husband. There were some things that started happening that I was like, this is weird. I don't know. I don't know what y'all are doing or saying and acting like, but this is just weird. We pause for another second. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
not a problem at all.
Well, it maybe was a week before the funeral, weird things started happening in their house.
Wow.
And by weird, it gets weird. So his sister one night said that she saw this in her bedroom close by her door is a dresser. And she said that she saw this dark shadow appear by her dresser. And can you hear me okay? Like
Yeah.
with her? Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry about the baby.
And she thought that was her brother. And she said, I don't know why you're in here to see me. You need to go see mama. And yeah, she just straight up told it that. And because her mom was not doing well, obviously, right? So at the time, she did not know this, but her mom was in the kitchen fixing her some water, something to drink. And she was facing the sink. And she said she heard him say mama, and then she felt something hug her from behind. And yeah, and I mean, no, and I didn't buy it.
Right.
I was like, okay, like I'm not saying I didn't buy that they didn't experience that. I wasn't buying that it was him.
Bingo.
I didn't say anything though. They seemed, because if they're comforted by it, by that experience and that happening, it's hard to tell them, hey, I really don't think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Sure. Which they really weren't church going either, I mean, so it wasn't like there was some other source other than maybe myself who would say, hey, no, don't entertain that. So I happened to never see anything. Everybody else said that they had seen something. I don't believe the dad did, but there was one night where I was.
Hey, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
There was one night I had trouble sleeping, right? Obviously, I would have problems sleeping.
Yeah, for sure.
I would be up late and I would finally I would exhaust myself pretty much, just like I would do anything but sleep for hours after my daughter would go to bed, and then I would finally be like, okay, I'm exhausted enough. I think I can sleep.
Yep.
So and well, I finally had exhausted myself. It was like almost 1 o'clock in the morning. It was late. And this is within the same week time frame. Okay. This was either before or right after the funeral. Okay. So it was within the same 2-week, 3-week time frame.
Yeah.
And I'm like half asleep, that stage of sleep where you're like, like you're not exactly fully aware of everything going on around you, but you're still awake.
Yep.
I was in that state of sleep, and I hear my late husband speaking, and I hear his father speaking. Okay. And they're talking back and forth. It was enough where I could hear it go back and forth one time, and it freaked me out. And I sat up. I don't know what they were saying, but it was a conversational tone. They weren't yelling. Nobody was angry. And I was like, I don't know what that was, but now I can't go back to sleep. So I was like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be up.
yeah, for
Like,
sure. You're up now.
yeah. And that kick started something. Almost every night after that, I would hear something talking, like mumbling. Couldn't make out exactly what it was saying sometimes. Um, but I would hear something talking
Yeah.
um in that state of sleep. And of course it would happen and I'd be like, what's going on? I don't understand. And I mean, it was like I was having to at this point I didn't think to pray about it, and
Yeah.
I really never did until recently, and it stopped, thank goodness, but it went on for years.
Yeah.
Like it recently stopped as of last year. And I'd gotten so used to it that I didn't care. I could still, like, if I heard something, I would just go back to sleep. Like, I can fall asleep to it. It didn't matter to me. Um, when I finally opened up to my husband about whenever they started slowing down and almost stopping, he was like, that's not normal. I was like, huh, what do you mean? I was like, he's like, that's never happened to me ever. I said, oh. And I'm
Oh,
hey, she's so sleepy.
okay. Hey,
She's so,
you want to pause it? I'm like I say, I'm not in a hurry this morning. We can
okay.
pause it. You can get her calm, and there's no rush.
Okay. She's- um, I might try a little longer because she's settling down now.
Okay.
She's gonna fight it for just a second, but
Babies come first. Don't worry about nothing. Okay.
yeah, yeah, they do. So, well, what's interesting is um my late husband's mother told me one night she was telling me everything that happened with her daughter, like my late husband's sister, and her, and how that had happened on the same night. And then she was telling me about how one night her husband was sleeping and he was talking in his sleep. And when he woke up, he said, did you hear that? He's like, I was talking to him. And she said, I heard, just meaning like she heard him talking in his sleep. But when I asked her when that was, she gave me what day it was. And I said, okay, what time was that? She gave me what time. And it was the same time that I heard it.
Oh,
Okay. I heard that whatever he was talking to, I don't know if it was something else, because it was in a dream state.
yeah.
I would be more open to it being him, but I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't know for sure.
That is incredible.
I It really bothered me.
Yeah.
I was not like spiritually weird, quote unquote, I I had if that happened to me recently, like with my new mindset, because it was like whenever you fall away from Christ and you're not doing what you're supposed to, and then you say, okay, I'm going back to church, I'm gonna read the word, and I'm a pray and talk to him, and you start getting back in that relationship with him. It's almost like it's like you underdeveloped and you're having to redevelop,
Yeah.
right? So it was like I missed so much in those teenage years.
Yeah.
And in my teenage years and in my, yeah, just most of, well, still young, so I am in my, yeah. Anyway, it's just I feel like I missed so much
Yeah.
now, like me being like, I feel like I missed out on some things. um but it really made me start to wonder. And just recently, I think I finally figured out that well, sorry, I'm just trying to put my words together. I think I had heard it before, but it never occurred to me that me hearing things at night didn't really happen during the day, which I did one time. I'll go into that in a minute. But
Yeah.
it didn't really happen during the day. It happened at night. And it never occurred to me that maybe some kind of spiritual door was opened because of trauma. That never occurred to me
Yeah.
until like that's literally the like the foundation of MK Ultra. And that's demons thrive off of that, right?
Absolutely.
So I really think some of my traumatic experiences started something that I finally have put to rest over time. It really started to stop when I got married, um, which I find interesting.
It's very
And it
interesting.
and it stopped when I got pregnant.
Yeah.
I was not like mid pregnancy. It stopped. That was the last time I heard anything. Um, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been
Lord.
over a year. Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah, thank for real.
Yeah.
Some of the things I would hear, just I would hear it would sound like I was in a big room and you could like, you know how it is if you go to like a big event or a big whatever and everybody's talking at the same time. It's like, ooh, it's got that specific sound. That's what it sounded like. I would hear that. I would hear music, all kinds of music. It would be classical music. It would be like a guitar or drums or just any kind of music. Um, Sometimes I would hear my name being called by usually my mom, which is
Mm.
weird, but usually my mom say like yelling my name.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would hear just straight just screaming. Um and sometimes it would just be mumbling
Yeah.
or singing. So
Yeah.
those like it just a wide array of things that I would hear almost nightly. It was almost a daily occurrence.
Yeah.
And it may have been for a while. It happened so much I don't know. I can't tell you how often it was because it was that often. I don't know.
Now,
Um
I've had somebody come on the show before and try to explain that in a scientific way. I I don't remember the words. It's like hyponic or what I don't know. Some kind of weird word about how
there's something called auditory hallucinations.
yeah.
I had to Google it eventually because I was
Yeah.
like, I was used to it at that point, but I was for whatever reason, I got curious and I didn't, look in a different direction. Like, hey, maybe I should pray about it. It might go away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I,
But
I, I don't align with that anyway. I think everything is
yes.
freaking spiritual.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I I'm not the only one who's experiencing that kind of thing. I found a whole Reddit thread of
yeah.
people saying, "Oh, this happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I hear music too,
Yeah.
or people talking."
Well, let me
And
tell
I'm
you,
like,
this
that's
week, or
interesting.
it was, yeah, maybe over the weekend, about the time all the really unfortunate things started happening at my house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I play the Bible app on my phone every night.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually start it in the Gospels. That way, like the name of Jesus is being said over me and around this room the whole night, right? And it's just something I have to do because if I don't, things get weird in my dreams.
Uh-huh.
But the other day, I was in that same state that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and I usually hear my Bible app, and when I'm coming to, I did not hear my Bible app. What I heard instead, and the only person I've told this to is my wife, because nobody else would really believe it, I guess. Well, they might,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
what I heard instead sounded uh like a groggily sounding like hag, just like this raspy old female voice, and it sounded like it was Latin or some kind of other language. And I only heard like 3 or 4 syllables maybe being spoken. And then I
Mhm.
woke up and I'm like, no, and turned my phone off.
No,
I
yeah.
have no clue what that was, but
Mhm.
I've been suspicious of um, witchcraft being used against this, probably because of the show.
Mhm.
But yeah, I put a lot of stock into what you're talking about right now, is what I should just say. I put a lot of stock into what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I told my husband, he looked at me like I was crazy. Like, I
Mm,
was like, you might need help. Like,
no.
it's done now. It's like it stopped.
Yep.
But I was like, that happened for a long time. He's like, yeah, that's not normal. I was like, I know it's not. it uh, it had grew normal to me over time, but
Yeah.
it's like now I'm not going. If that happen, if it ever happens again, I know what to do now.
Amen.
um, so that started recent, at, back in 2020. It was when that started, and I really think that the traumatic experiences that started that. Um, I also I did say I never saw something. That's not entirely true. I didn't see a shadowy figure or something that tried to appear to me as him. Um, it was one night I was taking me and my daughter to bed, and we were walking to the bedroom, and we bed shared at the time, so we were both in the bed, and I cut the lamp off, and I got snuggled under the covers, and like we were, she's getting all cuddled up to me to go to sleep because I guess I don't know what time it was, but it was just part of our routine, whatever. It wasn't anything outside of our routine. And I went to grab my phone, and his mother had texted me. Um, she said, we saw him follow you in there. We saw a shadow follow you in the bedroom. Instant chills.
Yeah.
I I jumped up, cut the lamp on, and I'm like, now there's this. Yeah, I'm frantically looking around the room. I'm like, there better not be anything in here. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, there better not be anything in here. And I'm almost frozen, and my eyes are just looking all over the room. And there's some kind of, there was something in there. Okay. And I'm not even going to try to describe what that presence was like. There was most definitely something in there, just because I don't know if I can describe it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I saw this. I'm frantically looking around the room, and there's a buildup, right? And then I see this flash of light, and it was not from the lamp. It
Right.
was not a glare off of something. The way that it was positioned, this light was like perspective. Okay. So like, I'm going to give you some perspective. So like, I'm sitting on the bed, and to my right is a dresser. On the floor, there's like this carpet, like rug. Okay. And this light was slender, and it came to a point at the top and came to a point at the bottom. The top of it was like just perspective wise, it was in front of the dresser. The bottom of it came to the rug. So like perspective wise,
Okay.
does that make sense? Does that make
Yep.
sense? If I drew a picture of it, it would be closer to me than the dresser, and it would be positioned where it was looked like it was touching the floor, but it's not. It's just
Right.
the way that it was midair. Okay. And it was like a rubber band had pulled and snapped, and that presence was gone. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that was. Not
Mm.
going to bed. Like, I left that lamp on for about 30 more minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
I just kind of played with my daughter, just like, hey, you want to stay up a little longer? Kind of thing. And I ended up not going to bed way late. I ended up going to bed way later than her that night. But I don't know what that was. I can't.
Uh,
I'll describe what the light was like. It was very bright. It's very bright, but it did not give off light. so like it didn't like
Didn't light up the room.
right. It didn't light up the room. It was just there and then it wasn't. Um, you see me wearing glasses. I was not, I didn't, I just got these like a month ago. I used to not have glasses. So I know it wasn't a reflect, like it wasn't a reflection off my glasses or anything.
Right.
It wasn't reflecting off of anything because it's just a wooden dresser. There's no metallic, like maybe the knobs were like old brass or something. They're like
Right.
rubbed off and they're not shining anymore.
Yeah.
And the rug, it's a rug. It's not going to reflect anything.
Right.
So, and especially not in midair. So I
You're a
I don't
thinker, you know that.
know. I am a thinker.
That's good.
I tried to knock out all possibilities and I was like, I'm just going to leave it as unexplainable because I don't know what it was. I don't know if something tried to appear to me and it couldn't. I don't know why it would be pretty. I don't know. The light was pretty. Um, well, angel of light, devil,
Yeah.
but um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I may not buy that. If something tries to appear to me, it may just try to like just scare me to death instead of trying to be like, oh, look at me, I'm nice.
Maybe it was one of those moments where it could have been some kind of angelic presence because those are still scary,
It could have been, yeah.
freak
I've
you
also
out.
thought about that. I
Yeah.
also thought about maybe there was something there that I could not see, and like I get imaginative too. I'm a thinker, right? So I get
That's good.
imaginative. Uh, it's like I just thought of like this other thing in there, and an angel showing up and like
Sword.
I don't know, sword like slashing it, and maybe I
Yeah.
saw some kind of tear, literal tear in the physical or spiritual. I don't know because
Yeah.
it looked like if maybe if somebody had torn like a piece of fabric, that's kind of what it resembled.
There you go.
But I don't, I could come up with theories all day. I have no idea what it
Yeah.
was.
It could have been almost like a portal
Yeah,
starting to
that
open and
has occurred
snapping
to
back.
me too.
Yeah.
That has occurred to me too, which I don't like that thought either. So,
Well, no, it don't sound fun, but I mean, in this world, it's a plausibility at this point, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, it is. So I don't know what it was, but I just know I've never seen anything like that ever since. And I've
yes,
never experienced that kind of presence before either. Not even like that was not, it wasn't the Holy Spirit. That was not what that was.
right.
Um, no, there was something else. And like I said, it was like a rubber band that built up and then it snapped.
Mm,
And when I saw that light, it was gone. Whatever that presence was, it was gone.
yeah.
Um, and I felt normal and I was like, oh, I can breathe now. I was like, I don't know what that was, but that was not, I don't like that. Um, yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up. I did not stay with them. I stayed with them for a while, but like when I say a while, it was a few months. And really and I would go stay with my dad every like once a month or something,
Yep.
on the weekends. And he he was like, he's like, I don't know if it's good for you to be living over there. And he just, and I didn't tell him anything that was happening over there. He just was just, he's a thinker too, I guess, but he was like, I don't think it's healthy. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
think on that. um, and I just, you know, that was a really rough period. That time period was really rough.
That would be.
And then, um, well, I guess I'll go into this other story,
Okay.
bouncing off of the light topic. I in 2021, I was at my dad's house. We were about to leave to go on vacation, and he was like, "Hey, come stay with us that night because we're going to leave early." And I was like, "Okay." So it was like a whole family thing. He was his current wife at the time, and her two kids, and me and my brother, and like my daughter. So I mean, it was a big family vacation thing, and so I was like, okay. and went over there and stayed the night. And this room that I was staying in has a bed that faces this big window. And they lived out in the middle of nowhere. I think they maybe had a couple of neighbors. It's really not that far from civilization, but just trees. I mean, it's like a 15-minute drive off the highway.
Yes.
So I really actually don't like leaving the curtains open on the window because it's pitch black and it's just woods. And I was like, ugh, I don't know. I don't know about that. So I would close the curtains at night, and because that was the room I would stay in. Well, my thought process this time was I'll leave the curtains open because the sun will come up and that'll help wake me up because I'm not a morning person. And I was like, the sun will come up and it'll help wake me up and I'll be in a better mood to make this 6-hour drive.
Right.
So I left the curtains open that night and I went to bed, and I ended up waking up at about, oh gosh, it may have been like 3-ish, 2 or 3, somewhere between 2 and 4. I don't exactly remember what time. And I kind of laid there. I lay there for a while, just hanging out, looking out the window, and I wasn't even like on my phone. I was just laying there. And I see this on the window. I'll give some dimensions real quick. So it's about maybe 3-ish feet off the ground outside, maybe 4 feet at the tallest off the ground outside. It's definitely not that tall. It's probably more than 3 feet. And it's a big window. I mean, it's pretty wide. It had 8 different like squares at the bottom. I'll tell you why I know that. So like I wouldn't know the rest of the dimensions of that if it wasn't for this experience. So I'm just laying there looking out this window and I see there's a blue ball that comes floating past this wall. When I say it's blue, it's a light and it is blue. It's not a like bright baby blue. It's actually very similar to the blue in your office there, actually.
Oh, okay.
Very similar to that color.
That's
If
very
not
blue.
same color. Yes, it's very blue. Very blue light. And I froze and I'm watching it and it disappeared. And then it showed back up. And then it disappeared and showed back up. And it blinked in and out of these different squares. And I don't think it was like the squares are important, but like it blinked out 4 times and then it like went past the wall. And I was thinking, what was that? it went like out of my view, and as I'm sitting there trying to process, I don't know what that was. I was like, what was that? Trying to think, okay. Just in shock, really. It shows back up again, but now it's in the trees. And it was almost dancing. It would show up here, like way up here, it would blink out and show up down here and toward the bottom of the trees, and it would blink around. It was just like I said, it was like it was dancing.
Yeah.
And I
How
would
big
just
is this thing?
watched it. It was maybe the size of a softball.
Okay.
Softball or baseball size. It was not very big. And I literally watched it just go into the woods and disappear until I couldn't see it anymore. And I was like, okay. Definitely. Like the other nights where I said I'm not going to sleep for a while, I didn't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I stayed awake the rest of the night until I had to get up. And I did some Googling around, and the only thing I could find was ball lightning.
Yeah, no way.
That's not what I would describe it as now.
Right.
It was definitely an orb of some sort.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, at least people were describing the same thing I had seen or similar, but it sounded like now sounds like an orb, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, at least I'm not the only one who has seen one of these things. But I was not scared. Maybe I may have been if it was like inside the house. Like I may have been freaked out if it was inside. But I
Right.
wasn't scared, and I was just watching it. In awe of some sort.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I ask a really,
mostly, yeah.
really weird question? And unless you listen to certain shows, it's going to sound really off the wall. But I'm nervous to even ask this because it sounds so dumb in a way. But has anybody in that area, especially around that time, was there any like Bigfoot sightings or reportings or
Not
that?
that I knew of.
Okay.
Not that I know of. And I get where you're going there, because orbs are very. I listen to a lot of things.
Okay.
I listen to a wide array of different kinds of shows. I
Yeah.
listen to yours a lot. I listen to um the confessionals and a
Yeah.
couple other ones.
If
I
you
can't
listen to
remember off the
like
top of my head.
Sasquatch Chronicles,
I've followed them, but I
yeah.
haven't really like sat down and listened. That's not where I first came into
Yeah.
this
It's
world.
not for most people, but
I
there's
first
like a huge connection between like blue lights in the woods or just lights in
Mhm,
the woods and these,
mhm.
these creatures or these entities that people call Bigfoot.
I'm not
Um,
surprised. I've and ever since, actually, like I'd heard of that connection. Ever since I was on my drives up there, I would be like, am I gonna see a Bigfoot? Like,
yeah,
like
for
being
real.
silly with it. But yeah, that so no, I don't I if there were any, I didn't know of any. I didn't see anything
Yeah.
with my window open. I can guarantee from then on, I kept those curtains closed
Yeah, no doubt.
at night. Those curtains stayed closed. Um, well, that morning, I get in my car. My brother's gonna ride with me, and he gets in my car, and I said, I have to tell you something. Like I was like, I have to tell somebody.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care if you believe me. It doesn't matter to me. I just know that I have to tell somebody this, and you can think I'm crazy, I don't care. And so I told him what happened. And I told him that I had been awake since however early, I think maybe been 4. I was like, I've been up since like 4 this morning. It's like because I couldn't go back to sleep after seeing that. And he was like,
Right.
that's crazy. Like, you know, and as we're driving, I literally had just got done telling him the story. And I don't know what he's doing. I'm not paying much attention because I'm driving, right? And he said, what's that? And I was like, what? And like I'm looking wherever he's looking. He's like, what is that? And he like gets like all scooted up in his seat, and he's looking out the windshield, and there's this big bright star. It's overcast, and it's like 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock during the summer. So the sun's up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, I don't know. And I'm looking and I see it. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And he's pulling his phone up to get a picture. And literally, I watch it. It happened so quick. But as I'm driving, I've watched this star as he's pulling his phone up at the same time. It shrunk and disappeared to nothing when he pulled his phone up. And he said, yo. He's so he's just so expressive. He's like, yo, that was a UFO. And he went to call my dad
Yeah.
for whatever reason, who
Yeah.
was ahead of us. And he was like, did y'all see that UFO? And the phone call's not working. It didn't go
Uh-uh.
through. They he's like, hello? And my brother is like, did you see that UFO? Did you see it? And I don't, I don't know. And the phone call went out, and
Yeah.
he didn't hear what we were saying. And I was like, why'd you call him? Like I wasn't gonna call him, but like it
Yeah.
was funny, just funny. And he had told some friends, and his friends were like, "You leave the house, and he thinks he sees a UFO."
Hey,
I
well,
was like,
maybe he did, you know?
maybe we did. Yeah, I don't. The details of it are weird, like how I was described. Like I just got done telling this orb story, like seconds. It was seconds
Yeah.
after I got done saying it, and he saw this thing, and as he's pulling his phone up, it suddenly just I literally watched it go away to nothing.
But see,
So
ain't that weird too? Like, it's
that's
almost like they see you back.
yeah, yeah, it's weird.
That's creepy.
Definitely made you feel surveillanced, right?
Yeah.
And the orb, I felt like it was not just like a thing. It really felt like it had some kind of conscience, or
Yep.
I don't know how else to describe it to it. It was like it knew I was there and I could see it, and but it didn't really care in that way. It was like it wasn't super interested in me, I don't think,
Hmm.
but not trying to say that, but it just seemed to be aware of my presence and me being awake and able to see it, even though this room is pitch black. I tried to explain away the orb thing. And I was like, I can't even, I don't know how to describe that away either.
Yeah, you
um,
can't.
and it also seemed to have some kind of personality to it, the way that it was moving in the woods.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. Just for, I guess, just for listeners, I live in Mississippi, so there's lots of trees where I live.
Yeah.
South, you know.
Have you ever heard of a will o wisp or wisp of the willows?
I in in that princess movie.
Okay.
That's
Well,
about all I know of it.
it would be like almost like fairy lights, or it's some kind of little light that people see in the woods, and then they follow it and then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you think it might be something trying
Maybe.
to
I mean,
coax you out of the house? Come check this out. Come, I'm just inside the tree line. Come look at me.
that's possible. That's possible. But I don't know, because it did get really high up in the trees at one point. I
Yeah.
mean, it was up there.
Yeah.
Um, and then it would just, I mean, it was coming, it was going all around. It wasn't like it didn't just like hang out. I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird.
Maybe. Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
it's weird.
spitballing,
It's
just
weird in general. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna throw it out. I don't know what it was specifically, I don't
Yeah.
not the knower of all things. um so there's that.
Yeah.
Um I think that pretty much sums up most of my like those are my bigger experiences. I would um like to go into some dreams if that's okay,
Yeah. That's fine
because
with me. Yeah.
um well, my vivid dreams started out when I was little, like little. Um, I would have these. I remember being so young. I don't know how old I was. I maybe was. It was before my parents got divorced, and that's for sure. Um, I was very little, and I remember having this dream of me hiding in the living room of this house, and the way that it was set up was like the garage door. I think it must have been, because it was to the side. It wasn't like the front door. It was like to the side.
Yeah.
And I could hide in the living room from this door. I couldn't see the entryway to the door. But I was hiding behind this like grandfather clock, which we didn't have one, so I don't know what I was doing. But hiding behind a grandfather clock, and there was knocking at the door. And I was terrified. I was so scared. And I heard the door open, and these like skeletons walked into the living room, and they were looking for me, and I was like and that was when my dream ended. It was just really really weird, but very vivid and intense,
Yeah.
like definitely maybe not normal for maybe a 3-year old, I'll say 3 or 4 years old, to be
Right.
dreaming about.
Yeah. And it
I
stuck
don't
with you for
know.
20 years.
Yeah, it stuck with me for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
um when I was 5, 5 or definitely 5. I want to say the only reason I think 5 or 6 was because I was in kindergarten
Yeah.
and my mom was going to school and we lived in some, they don't really do it anymore, but we lived in some, like community housing on campus.
Okay.
And so it was like, it's really just apartments, just apartment housing on campus.
Yeah.
And it was the way it was set up was like you'd open like it was like concrete foundation and then it had like these metal like iron stairs go up in the middle and like go in the door and like the living area is on your left. You have a dining area and then the kitchen on your right. And it kind of kitchen kind of goes into like there's a section in the wall for the kitchen. And then you go down a little hallway and the bathroom's on the left. And then just past the bathroom, there's a bedroom and another bedroom. And like that was it. So not very big, but it was enough for me and my brother to have a bunk bed and my mom to have her own room. And so some weird things for sure, dreams for sure happened in that apartment.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I definitely don't know how to describe either. um so I'll put a pause on the dream because there's other dreams that I would like to get into as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
um I asked my mom one day if I ever or I didn't ask her, I just told her about this weird memory I had of me getting a bath by myself and me waking up on the couch and not really knowing what was going on. And she said, "You never got baths by yourself at the apartment." And I said, "What?" And she said, I said, "Yes, I did. I actually have 2 memories of me getting baths by myself." And she said, "No, that you were too young. I wouldn't have let you ever get a bath by yourself, especially not while I was sleeping." Because
Huh.
my memory was she was asleep. One of my memories is I was in a bath and it was too hot. And so I got out pretty quickly. I ran me some bath water. I got in and I got out. My brother's like, he was a like horrible liar. He lied about everything. And he did it just to mess with me. There were mornings where he'd wake up and be like, "McKinley, there's dinosaur footprints outside," and we'd go looking for him. He's like, "Oh, I don't know where they went." You know, like just messing with me. Um, well, he was telling me that the bath water was so hot. Like I was wrapped up in a towel and I was like, "It's like that water's so hot." And he's like, and I don't know. I feel like not exactly sure. I may have said something along the lines of my chest hurts. That's weird. Sorry, this is kind of coming back to me now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that, but for whatever reason, he was looking like he grabbed my shoulders and was like, "I'll use my x-ray eyes," and like looked into like my chest and said, not like looked into, I didn't think, I was like, "What is he doing?" But
Right.
he said, "You've got 3 holes in your heart because the bath water was too hot." And I was like, "Oh, no." And I went and ran to my mom's room and I told her, and she said, "Huh? No, you don't," and just went back to sleep.
Right.
she I have a lot of memories of me going to my mom and telling her something when she was asleep, and because she was either working or doing school or she was asleep. Like that was what she was doing. Um, and she said, um, she's like, "What? No, you don't." And then I just was like, "Okay," just like left the room. And I don't remember getting back in the bath. I don't even remember going to bed or like getting dressed after that. That's all I remember
Right.
is being told I didn't have holes in my chest and like or holes in my heart. And then like that's all.
Yeah.
So that's a weird thing, right? Especially whenever you're told like, "No, you didn't get baths when I was asleep." Like that
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure she probably, and come to think of it, she may not have even gone to bed until after me and my brother were already asleep, especially if she was staying up doing homework. So I don't know what to make of that memory there,
Yeah.
unless maybe it was in the morning. That's the only thing I can think of. But I don't think we ever took like daytime baths or showers.
Right.
I don't think we ever did. So I don't know what to make of that.
Right.
And I think I've even asked my brother about it. He's like, I don't remember that. I was like, okay, let's just, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of that. He was young too. So then I have this other memory of me just having I don't remember being in the bathtub actually. I just assumed that because my hair is wet and I'm wrapped up in a towel. It's nighttime. Now this time is for real at night. And I get out of the bathtub and I'm so tired. I'm actually so tired that for whatever reason, decided that I need to go lay down on the couch. And so I go walk into the living room and I lay down this little like love seat. It's not very big. And I lay down on the love seat and actually I curl up sitting up. Okay. I can't, like, to this day, I can't fall asleep sitting up.
No.
I was really tired in this memory. I was really, really tired. And I don't know why. Maybe if the bath water was too hot, that might make somebody really tired. But the fact that I didn't go to my bed or get clothes on first bothers me.
Right.
I went straight to the love seat and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like that was my first thought, was like, what's going on? And I was scared. And I jumped up off the couch, still had this towel on, and I ran to my mom's bedroom and I told her, I said, Mom, I fell asleep on the couch. She was just like, like, she's not awake. And she didn't say anything. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know what that was. And I just took myself back to bed. I don't remember getting into bed, but that memory is weird. Very strange, very strange.
Yeah. They're both bathtub memories,
Well, this dream is a bathtub memory or bathtub dream. And I wanted to put a pause and talk about those memories. But yes, they're both bathtub memories.
Yeah.
And I did not ever put those pieces together until I told my husband's mother-in-law, who I can get weird with. She's great. Or sorry, my husband's mom, my mother-in-law. I can get weird with, and we talk like once a week. She's great. But I told her about that and she's like, what's weird is they're all bathtub related. And I was like, I guess they are. I never thought about that. Which is interesting. And for a while, I actually remember as a kid, I did not like getting baths. I thought baths were scary and something was going to come get me, which is interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I never knew where that fear came from. I still don't know. I don't feel that way anymore as an adult, but like as a kid, older, even like 10, I still didn't like baths.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So then I had this dream, and it's probably the most vivid dream I've ever had, like in my life, ever, hands down. Oh, every time I tell it, it gives me chills. Okay, so I'm outside. The dream starts where I'm outside. I'm playing with some of the other kids who are in these apartment complexes outside. And on this concrete foundation, I come across this like cobra head pendant. It's not very big. It looks like something that would have came off a necklace or like a bracelet. And I pick it up, and for whatever reason, I think it'd be funny to like drop it down the sink and wash it down the sink. I'd not put it in the trash, not do anything with it, just whatever. Kid thinking, I guess. I don't know. So I'd go take it to the bathroom and I'd put it in the sink and I wash it down the sink, and I kind of giggle because I thought it was funny. And then I ran outside and I'm playing with these with these other friends. And I'm out there playing for a little while. And not too much longer later, I hear a hissing sound. And it's coming from the apartment where I live. And I'm like, what is that? And I go check it out. And I go into the bathroom. I go into the apartment and the hissing's coming from the bathroom. So I go into the bathroom and the faucet there's nothing but cobras just black cobras coming out of the faucet, and the bathtub is filled with them. They're
Oh
just
God.
slithering around all over each other. I hate snakes, by the way. I have this horrible fear of snakes, and they're slithering all around each other. And I gasp and I back up, and somehow the door shuts behind me, and I'm shut in this bathroom. And then one of the cobras slides out of the bathtub, and I fall backward. Oh gosh, my sorry, chills. I fall backwards onto the floor, and I'm starting to scoot back, like, oh my gosh. And this cobra comes up to me, rears up, its neck flares out, and as it goes to strike, I wake up.
Oh no.
And that night, I overheard my mom talking to a friend of hers because I was really bad about getting in her bed at night, in the middle of the night, and going and sleeping with her. And she, because this wasn't the only nightmare I had there. This is just the most profound one.
Yeah.
I had several others. Like there was one where there was like an octopus like a really scary octopus in the in the apartment building. It was coming to get me. I don't know what that was.
Also water related.
Water related. You're right.
Yeah.
And I, so anyway, her doorknob was locked. She had locked her door that night. And I still busted up in there, and I still got into bed with her. I was terrified. I was so scared. And I still have snake nightmares. I haven't had one in a long time, thank goodness.
Yeah.
After all that happened in 2020, I would have about 2 weeks worth of nightly nightmares, or weird dreams, and then it would stop for a few weeks, and then it was like a cycle, just like would cycle through. And so it was horrible, but I finally have broken that cycle actually when I got pregnant with my second child.
Yeah.
That finally seemed to chill out. I was like, oh, thank goodness. Because it was, sometimes those dreams were a lot.
I bet.
But that, I don't know what to make of that dream. Like
Well,
there's so much symbolism in it.
yeah,
And
tons of symbolism in it. Like
I don't
snakes
know.
usually mean enemies, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure the color of the snake means something. The
Mhm. It was black, and it had like a yellowish whitish belly.
yeah.
Um,
What color was the
now I will
pendant when
say
you flushed it?
color, it was the same color, black, and it was whitish yellow, and it had red eyes.
Yeah.
I remember it had red eyes. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of that at all. Um, but I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Maybe later in life it'll come to me, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a
I don't
deep
know.
one.
I've prayed about it, and I've tried to nothing. I'm like, okay. Maybe later. Um but I've had those kind of dreams ever since I was that young.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've talked about it for like 30 minutes now. And I could sit here and tell you dream after dream after dream after dream.
Right.
Especially snake ones. Like snake ones are really common
Yeah.
for me. And then for a while those stopped, and I started having alligator ones, which also are symbolic of evil, right?
Yeah.
Of the enemy.
Yeah.
And then those I guess I like called it out, and they weren't having the same effect on me as snakes, so that stopped having dreams about gators. I don't know. But it's almost always some path I'm on, and there's snakes, or snakes stopping me. It's
Well,
almost
there you
always that's
go.
the case.
That
Mm-hmm.
kind of writes itself,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Right. Right.
I find it really interesting that this stuff stopped during your pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Me too. Me
I
too.
think it's wonderful. I think it's like
Mhm.
just like part of the gift, you know, of having
Yeah.
that baby. And
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
great.
I really think I don't know. I think when I was, I think maybe it may have been Vicki Joy Anderson, and I was listening to her talk about something, and she said when she was married, or when she got married, a lot of her problems had stopped, and she said it was a legalism bloodline thing.
Yep.
I think that may be at play here.
I think so too.
My
Yep.
dad has struggled with sleep paralysis, and I didn't know that.
Really?
He struggled with it when he was younger. I had no idea. And my brother was the one who told me. He was like, he used to have sleep paralysis. And I was like, what? I was like, I didn't know that. He's like, he would be laying in bed. He's told me that he would be laying in bed and he would just see these shadow things running around his room. Like things, like there were several. He's like, yeah, he's like more than one at one time. And I was like, I don't like that.
Nope.
I'm
Nope.
so glad I haven't ever experienced that. Because that just sounds horrifying.
Well, let me ask this too. Your husband's family, mother-in-law is super cool. Hope she listens to the show.
I think I've sent her a couple episodes before. She's not really a big podcaster like I am.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger podcaster than she is,
but
yeah.
Is his family Christian?
I'm laughing because I said that I would not bring up this family. Like I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to bring it up because he actually, I will just be very vague. His mother is the only one we are in contact with maternally.
Okay.
His grandparents on his maternal side. No. No, I actually suspect there's something opposite than Christianity going on there.
Yeah.
And his mom suspects that too. I've never talked with my husband about it because it's he had a very hard life, very hard life when he was young. So I don't want to push, I don't want to push those buttons with him, but it's very interesting that you asked that. His mom is. Okay. His mom is, and his dad's parents are. Okay. Well, really, his dad's mom and his stepdad is. Yeah. His dad is not. We actually are not in contact with him anymore either, because he's
all right.
Not good news either. So,
but
you
said that
on that side, but
yeah, with the marriage and the bloodline thing, you said maybe that had something to come into play about the stuff stopping, and I thought, well, maybe there was like a really strong lineage of like prayer warriors coming from that side. But if not, it don't, it's
well, his mom for sure, she was saved young too.
Was she?
And even though she grew up going to church, even though that wasn't really the environment at home.
Yeah.
But she said she just felt so loved at church that there was just no other love at church and the people. And she said she really felt she felt God when she went to church, so yes. And that started young, so good. Maybe so. Good. Maybe so. Good. Yeah, but I don't really know where I was going with that. But anyway, I don't.
I'm sorry, I threw it all off, didn't I?
No, you're fine. You're fine. I can I don't know. Yeah, and I like when I say weird dreams, I just mean really, really vivid. And there's typically a storyline. And I've heard some people say, oh, well, if you watch a lot of movies, your dreams will play out like movies. And I'm like, that just sounds made up. I don't know. Like, I don't watch a lot of movies. Number one, I don't even watch a whole lot of TV. So that doesn't make sense. At the time, like when these weird dreams started happening, I thought maybe, because that's what I would do when I couldn't sleep. I would watch something and, finally get tired enough where I could sleep. But I was like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm able, in some of my dreams, I'm actually able to recall other dreams during a dream. So, like recently, I had a dream that I was at a water park with some person that I don't even talk to anymore. Not because she's just, we just grew apart, whatever. Didn't really have a close relationship, but somebody I knew. And I did not have like, I didn't know that before you could go down the water slides, you had to go to the ticket booth and you had to get these water passes or whatever.
Right.
And, and I was explaining to some lifeguard or some person who worked there that, it's like, well, it's been so long since I've been to a water park. I haven't been since me and my husband's honeymoon. I was referencing a different dream. Me and my husband never had a honeymoon.
Wow.
number, number one.
Yeah.
This dream that I had a dream that me and my husband had gone to a water park and we were there for like a week. And honestly, in the dream, I don't recall ever remembering, oh, this is a honeymoon. So I actually labeled it something else in a different dream and was able to, I don't know what that means,
Like a
but
whole alternate life.
yes. And that's not the first time that's happened. That's happened several other times where I'll actually have where I'll be in the same place as a dream that I had years ago. And I'll remember everything that happened in that other dream. And I'm just acting like it's totally normal in the dream. And I'm actually going off of the storyline that I remember from however long ago that was.
Wow.
I've had, so that you could say that there's a part one and a part two. I've had dreams consecutively that played off of the other one. So when I was a teenager, this is just funny. This is just cute. But I had a dream about penguins in
Right.
the like in a blizzard and it was icy and they were really cute. And I remember really enjoying the dream. And I woke up middle of the night and I was so upset because I just wanted to dream about these penguins. Because it's very rare. I actually have never had a dream that I thoroughly enjoyed like that.
Right.
Like I honestly I can't remember. Maybe one other one that I don't know. But
Yeah. I don't
I was
recall
like,
having dreams. I was just like, oh, I love that. You know?
right. So I went and I was like, man, I was like, I want to continue that penguin dream. And I went back to sleep and I dreamed about them penguins some
Wow.
more. And I was like, yes, that was great.
That's rare.
um, weird. Yeah, but great. Weird, but great. So and then recently I actually had a part one and a part two consecutively. That was very strange. And I'll be happy to tell you that. And then
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to get any more dreams because
Okay.
maybe not. Just I feel like there's just so many. Like I feel like I could sit down and do a 2 hour show on just my
Well, we
dreams.
might have to do that sometime.
Maybe so. Um, there was this was recently. I had a dream that I was in this office space and I had my second child and my first child, had both of my children with me. And there was a man telling me that I had to go through the doors. So there were two double doors. It was very dark in this office. Um, not a whole lot of light. What little light there was, it was red. And for some reason in the dream, I'm thinking, I don't remember seeing his face. And I never saw really his face. I don't know what he looked like. But something was telling me in the dream, this is your husband. I'm like, no, it's not. This is not my husband. I don't know who this is.
Yeah.
Not even my first one. Like this is somebody I don't know. And he's telling me I have to go through these double doors and go down this hallway. And I tried telling him no, and he's like, no, you have to. So he forces me and my children down this hallway. My oldest is walking beside me. She never actually says anything. So, man, I don't know. I just, in the dream, I assumed this was my child. And I'm holding my youngest. And we're walking down this hallway, and it's concrete on all four sides. Dark, just red light. That theme continues. The only way out is behind me, back through those other double doors that are like metal, like like those metal doors at like schools
Yeah.
that are really heavy. It's those kind of doors. And then there's two more. There's another set of double doors at the very end of this hallway. It's kind of a long hallway. Okay, so we're walking down this hallway, and I get through these double doors, and they close behind me, and I hear them. I hear them lock, and I was like, okay. And I'm looking around this room, and it's got double bunk beds, almost very jail like. They're metal. There's nothing on it but a frame. There's not even like a mattress on it, like not even a mattress pad on it.
Yeah.
Like nobody's living in these. Or well, no, there may have been a mattress pad on it, but there's not pillows or anything. There's a small bookshelf with deer antlers on it, and it's empty. This room is empty, and there's a closet. And I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing in here?
Yeah.
And I hear this like scuffling sound coming from the closet. And when I open it, there are two zombies. And they come out, and one comes after me, and I end up grabbing the antlers, and I take care of the situation with the deer antlers.
Wait.
Yeah, it really doesn't sound like me, but I guess if you're locked in a room
With
with
your
your
babies.
kids, yeah, I don't know. So I'm really confused. In the dream, I'm very confused. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Why am I in here? And so then the doors opened by themselves, and me and my oldest walk out, and we go back into the office, and I was kind of told like, good job, and that was it. And so it was like a test, and I didn't understand what was happening. And then my dream ended. I woke up, and that was a lot. I was like, okay, that, I don't know. I don't like that. That next night, I had a part two, and I was in that office again. And, and he tells me I have to do it again. And I was like, no, no, I'm not doing that again. And I was told I had no choice. And so I was sent back down the hallway with both of my kids, and we go back in this room, and this time the closet door is open. The antlers are still left in there. Pretty much the room is left how it is, but it's cleaned up a little bit. Like there's not a mess. And I'm like, okay, like I'm waiting. Now I'm expecting something. I'm like, okay, there's something else in here. And I look back, the closet's just a little cracked. And I go to open the closet door, and there's two snakes. They are red and black, I believe, kind of going with the red and black theme going on here. And they seem very slow. But it seemed to have escalated. And something in me knew that if one of these things bit me, I was not making it out of here.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to use the antler to fend them off, I was like, well, I'm gonna just do the same thing I did last time. And it wasn't working because they could jump. They could launch themselves at you. But they were kind of slow in their reactions. So really instead of slithering to you, they would jump at you. So you had time during the jump to like maneuver out of the way.
Right.
But I couldn't kill him. And I was at that point, I was like thinking about throwing the antler at it. I was like, I don't know what else to do. And because it wouldn't let me get close. I didn't want to get close. And then I woke up when I started thinking like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And like that fear of like me and my kids were about to die in this room.
Yeah.
I mean, horrible. And I was like, what was that? Why was there a part two? I was really freaking out, and it was consecutive. It was like that one night I went to bed and had the first dream. The second night I had the second dream. And I'll tell you that third night, I said, that is not happening again.
Right.
I read Psalm 91 before I went to sleep. and
Hey,
a few other Bible verse, a few other Psalms, I think, probably Psalm 23 and 27. And then I've read 91. I was just flipping through trying to read something else. And I
yeah,
decided that I would leave my Bible open on the bed, Psalm 91. And I haven't had a part three. I
good.
haven't had a continuation. I was like, that ain't happening again.
Yeah. Hey, Psalm 91 is a good choice because it says that you will tread upon the lion and the serpent, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
good choice for,
Yeah.
for that one.
Like,
Now,
where am
who
I?
was it that was telling you you don't have a choice in your dream?
This man, whoever it was, the first dream, something in me was trying to tell me this, like, this is my husband. I'm like, this is not my husband.
Right.
Like, he doesn't he doesn't talk this way. He doesn't sound like this. He doesn't look like that. He wouldn't do this, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, a million other things. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't him. This isn't even like first husband. I will say he did not have a lot of hair.
Yeah.
That's about all I remember. Um,
Interesting.
mhm. So I don't, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that one, but I put a stop to it.
Yeah.
I was not having any more of that. Um,
Hmm.
mm, mm-mm.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know. I think that's probably about it. That's all. I think that's about it.
Well, I'm glad you share those dreams with me too. And I really appreciate you telling like your testimony and
Mhm.
all these experiences that you've went through. And I'm sorry for your loss in
Thank you.
2020.
Thank you.
I said your mom's a tough woman, and I think that you must take after that same stride there because you got to be tough.
Maybe
And
so.
I can see, and I'm
Maybe.
not just trying to. I'm not just like filling you full of hot air. I've seen you with this baby now for the last couple of hours, and I think you are doing an incredible job. I haven't seen frustration even cross your face one time. You know, it's just I know you're young, but
Yeah.
I think you got this mother stuff down pat. You know, you seem to
Thank
have
you.
patience and just a genuine love, and that's been a blessing for me just watching you. You know, like I just you're doing a good job.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's very kind. Very kind.
Well, I mean it. If you if you ever want to come back on the show, talk about dreams, talk about whatever you want to talk about, just holler
Okay.
at me, okay?
All right. Yeah. Um, I will bring up one more thing.
Yeah.
And this is just uh yeah, I think maybe we can end it on a mm, positive holy note maybe.
Absolutely.
So when I started going back to church, um I was I don't go to this church anymore. Um I'll still watch on their live streams and stuff, but me and my husband go to a different church now. But on this church, um non-denominational, very spirit filled. And during worship, they started playing a song, and I felt the Holy Spirit come on me, and I was like, whatever, I don't know what's going on, but whatever you're trying to tell me, what just tell me or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really understand. I'm so nonchalant about it. I was more polite about it at the
Right.
time, But and I was like, whatever it is, just tell me, just tell me. I'm open. I'm listening. And instead of feeling something in my spirit, how the Holy Spirit will talk to you.
Yeah.
Um, it's really nice not having to explain that to somebody who is a believer and is spoken to
You bet.
that way. Anyway, so during the worship, I was singing along, and I started having these, I, I'm not really sure what it's called, but I'll just call them flashbacks, where I was visually seeing them First and only time this has ever happened. I'm not claiming to be some kind of prophet or whatever, but in these flashbacks or visions or whatever was going on, I was seeing traumatic experiences, but where Jesus was physically in each one.
Amen.
And that like I didn't know what to do with that for a while. Like I was like, okay, I mean, I get it, I accept it, whatever you're telling, like that I'll accept it. But I don't know what to do with it. It healed a lot of internal things for me. And definitely gave me a different view on Jesus. And what's really cool is after worship, the assistant pastor got up and he said that he was hearing during the service that if you look back on your traumatic experiences, you'll see where Jesus was the whole time. I was like, amen. So
yeah, it'll make me shouting here.
So yeah, just a cool supernatural
I love it.
Jesus supernatural experience. I haven't experienced anything else like that. I don't really know if I want to. If it's, I don't know. I just opened myself up and it happened. So,
amen.
But
I love it. That's a great Jesus moment, a Holy Spirit moment.
And it's pretty great. It's great.
Keep them babies in church.
I will. Yeah, I will. All right. I'll be praying for you for all the issues at your house.
Thank you.
It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
We have
attacks come, but they go too. So.
Yeah. I'll be praying for you. And
thank you very
I'll
much.
be praying for the show too, because I've listened to some of the recent ones and I heard some of your speculations about the attacks on the show. And so I'll be praying for that too.
I appreciate it. And I'll be praying for you and your family.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You have a great rest of your day. God bless. And I'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right.